Hey, y'all. Mic on, mic on. Can you guys hear me? Great. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. Welcome to the specially curated panel by Save the Music and Ma Dukes, who is backstage. Of course, she is J Dilla's mother. Such an honor to be here. My name is Azia. I am the founder of Fusicology, and as I mentioned, I'm honored to be on the stage with such icons. My connection to Dilla was that I was his friend and also his agent in the early thousands, his DJ agent. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to Maureen Yancey, better known as Ma Dukes, the mother of the late, great J Dilla. Also joining us is the absolutely magnificent DJ Jazzy Jeff. Please join us on stage. And also please welcome Stone's Throw founder, Peanut Butter Wolf. Along with the beat junkie himself, J-Rock. Thanks, y'all. I'd like to begin the conversation with you, Ma Dukes. And we'd like to discuss the life of Dilla as a person leading into his musical career.
All right. Where do I start? Okay, I guess we start almost at birth, huh? He had perfect pitch at 2 months old, okay? He never slept nights, so his lullaby music was patting him on the stomach and him gurgling in perfect pitch with his dad's bass runs. And he was upright bass player, so you know how when you practice and you go up and down the scales and you're hitting it, and it seemed to soothe him and he could go to sleep. That is when we knew that he loved music, but that's as far as we took it, because we both were music lovers. Dilla began to enjoy listening as we had party music, and he was in his playpen, and we could entertain till late night. Never a cry, never a sob, just looking around and listening to the music in his playpen. And he got tired, he'd go to sleep. No problem there, so we entertained a lot, okay? And at that, he was open to listening to different genres of music, as we had a lot of individuals that came to the house for his dad to help curate their music, train them for vocal appearances and auditions, and maybe for Broadway plays, but that's how he used his time when he wasn't working at Ford Motor Company. And we enjoyed it. Dilla, his favorite person as he was growing into his first year was James Brown. We knew this because within 3 beats of any James Brown track that was played, he would be up against the playpen, holding onto the net. And some of you are old enough to know when the playpens were just like a net. Okay, I had like an old hair net, and holding on and dancing profusely, but without the remembrance that he could not walk or stand alone. The music took him into a different space, and he was not afraid. We knew then that, geez, he's not afraid to, take that risk and stand up and dance. And he knew distinctly when the record was almost done, the last few beats of the song, we noticed that he began to look paranoid and ease himself down along the net. So we knew that he threw, care to the wind when it came to music. His lullaby music was anything jazz, anything Motown, and of course, being a Detroiter and being raised in Detroit and loving all the Detroit artists and different genres of music, he was open to listening to all of these things. His day was to listen to music of different genres. When his dad would be at work at Ford, I get to play the music that I grew up with, that I love so much, and that was classical and opera. So he got a little taste of that. But nobody else in the family liked that. So that was my free time that I got to enjoy what I grew up on. Mr. Yancey was a jazz musician. and also a doo-wop singer. And he was listening to that. He had different groups that would reminisce and come by the house, and they do the doo-wop together, and then they sing a cappella. He was a jazz musician and even played, during his group, the Ivies, played halftime for the Globetrotters when they were here in Detroit and local places, you know, cities close by. But Mr. Yancey still, he punched that clock at Ford Motor Company. Because, you know, in the arts, you cannot depend and raise families on that alone. And he had 2 families that he had to raise. So that's pretty much how he started out. A love of music, different genres, even country music, blues, whatever. He loved it all. And that was how we got him to go to sleep, because he liked to be up at night. You know, he didn't know that it's sleep time and that his dad had to get up at 5 in the morning. So, you know, we had to do our best. And there was a thing called tempera drops that you would give a child if they had fever or needed to relax. And so we were like, I think we should have bought stock in that, because we used it a lot when he just wouldn't succumb to the sleep, and we had to give him a couple temper drops and like calm him down, let him just please go to sleep, you know, kind of like thing. But yes, his entire life revolved around music. We bought music for him. He would go record shopping because he was such a great kid. As a toddler, 2 years old, we take him to the record store on Fridays when his dad got paid and buy him a 45 of his liking. And at that time, they played music for you when you entered the store. If you wanted what they were playing and they played it continuously, you would get that. But otherwise, they introduced you to what was new on the market or see what you had. And the people in the record store knew him because we were religious on the Fridays to get that 45 for him. So he'd go to the park with his 45s on his arm, Fisher Price in hand, portable, and play his music for all the adults that were in Harmony Park, downtown Detroit.
Thank you so much. And a quick note, if you guys want to submit any questions via the South by Q app, you could also upvote the questions that you like, and then we'll be taking some Q&A at the end with as much time as we have left. A quick follow-up, how did your son influence and uplift his community and friends?
Jeez, I'll tell you, he was very giving. He would help anyone. He would help anyone, should I say, that was sure that music was what they wanted to do. He had no patience for people that hum-hawed about things or wasn't sure if you weren't dedicated, or if he gave you time to be at the house to work and you were late, that would be your last time coming to the house. And he let you know before you leave that, well, you're not serious, I don't have time for this, I'm sorry. And that would be it. I don't care how close you were a friend, you weren't ready. And he had no patience. He was like a scientist. It had to be on point, it had to be right. He had no time for nonsense.
Thank you so much, Maureen. And Jeff, such an icon yourself. We'd love to hear you talk about, you know, your experiences with Dilla and maybe play some music.
Oh, wow. So I remember being in LA and I was listening to the radio, and I'm not sure if it was J-Rock or if it was Melody, but somebody played I Don't Know on the radio, and I lost it. Just, what is this? This is the greatest thing I've ever heard compiled together in music. And I called the radio station, and they told me who it was. And about 2 weeks later, I was working on something, and Common came to the studio, and I started talking to Common, and he was just like, do you know him? And I was like, no. So Common picked up the phone and called him on the phone, and we ended up talking on the phone for about an hour just about music and, you know, hey, man, you know, how the record stores out in Philly? And I'm like, they're great. And, you know, so he ended up flying to Philly, and I remember picking him up from the airport. And this kind of goes to show you the love of music, that I didn't know his last name. And he flew, and I picked him up. The only thing that we knew is we're going record shopping. We are best friends right now. But I picked him up and drove to the house, and Kenny Dope came down from New York, and we got in the car at 1 o'clock in the morning and drove from Philly to Pittsburgh. And we pulled over at a motel, and we crashed for about 2 hours, and we woke up, went to IHOP, and pulled up to the record store as the doors open. And we stayed in the record store until the doors closed. We went up the street to get something to eat. But it was about 5 of us in a Lincoln Navigator. And we didn't realize we had to get those records home. Because when we came out, there were literally human-sized stacks of records that everybody had. Needless to say, we did not leave one record. That was probably the most uncomfortable trip I've ever had. I remember Dilla laying across a bunch of albums in the back of a Navigator, but we were bringing them records home. You know, that just goes to show the love. But it was probably one of the greatest digging musical joys that I had, to have Dilla on one side, Kenny Dope on one side, and they were like, listen, we're gonna make you a pile. Like, because I had stopped digging for records for about 5 years and I felt completely out of the loop, and they were like, we're gonna get you back in the loop really quick. So to watch these piles of records, and it's amazing because I have a section in the studio of those piles of records that he got from me. Wow. That I will always remember. But that, you know, pretty much the music journey, you know, he would literally call me, you know, there was like a $39 flight from Detroit to Philly that he would call me and say, I'm coming. He would get on the flight. I would go to the airport. I would pick him up. I would drive him to South Street because I introduced him to a jeweler. The chain that he has on to the Welcome to Detroit, I took him to get. We would go record shopping. I would get him a cheesesteak. We would go to the studio until his flight was getting ready to leave, and he would go back home the same day.
Wow.
So, you know, I mean, I've had some amazing times with him, just watching him work. I didn't realize until later on that Dilla never left the house. He was not really good. A lot of the records that we love about Dilla were 2 tracks. Dilla would make the beat and say, listen, I did my job. You put what you want to put on top of it. And I didn't realize how special it was that the record that Dilla did for me on my album, he came to Philly and did it in the studio.
Multi-track?
Yes. Oh, listen, I got a chance to watch him do that.
Yeah.
Like literally in 15 minutes, he might have came in the studio with 4 records and made the entire song off of these 4 records. No diss, got the drums off of the record, got everything off of the record, and then rapped on it. So, like, he's the GOAT.
There's actually a picture of you, Kenny, and Dilla, in the Escalade, right?
Yeah. That was before we put the records in.
What year was that?
I don't know.
Like
I'm
early
super
2000s?
bad with Was it?
Probably like 2000 or something.
Somewhere like that. It was a new Navigator.
And with us, I never saw him create a song. Actually, no, I take that back, but it's not my turn yet. So.
We'll keep the conversation flowing. Should
Yeah.
we hear some music?
Yeah.
Let's go.
And then I pick up the world, shit. She wants my casual says, my own as usual, my man says, is him too. To all the ladies in the place, I mean your whole crew is like, you know that that's just my crew, we roll. We got a whole flock of niggas with locks. But I don't know why I'm fucking with you. I don't know why I'm fucking with you. See, I don't know why I'm fucking with you. See, I don't know why I'm fucking with you. See, I don't know why I'm fucking with you.
Yeah. Wolf. Peanut Butter Wolf for those.
Hello.
We'd love to discuss the Stones Throw Dilla era, maybe talk about the making of Donuts.
Donuts. Oh, we're going forward, like to his
Talk about
last
the
album.
past and the,
Donuts. Yeah, that's. I mean, Donuts is simple. It was basically like we were. I don't. Were you in the car with us when Dilla, he gave me a CD of beats, and we were well, there was Pizza Man, there was Donuts. I mean, basically, he had this series of beat tapes where it was always like named after like unhealthy food, and Donuts was one of them. He always had a sense of humor, but yeah, I mean, actually, that reminds me of another time when he was not doing as well, and he was in the hospital, and he asked me to bring him some food, and well, I was talking to you, and you asked him what he wanted, and he asked for Burger King, which yeah, where am I trying to go with this? Anyways, yeah, donuts.
You're hungry.
Yeah, I know. Now I want Burger King. Donuts. Yeah, it was. We were going record shopping, and I thought you were in the car. If you weren't, yeah, okay. So it was me and Madlib and someone else, and he just gave me the CD, and he just, I just threw it on, and I was just like really blown away. We had already done J-Lib together with him, which was Madlib and J Dilla's album, where half the album. Yeah, I kind of want to talk about those things, but anyways, yeah, we had done the J-Lib album, and that was like we were so excited when we did the J-Lib album, and it was and we kind of spent a lot of money on it for being an independent label, like more than well, yeah, but it didn't really do that well, and after that, I was thinking, man, he's not gonna want to work with us anymore, but. He moved to L.A. Yeah, I remember he called me and he was like, "Yo, Wolf, I'm gonna be moving to L.A. I got an offer to score a movie for Spike Lee, and I have to be in L.A. for it." And I'm just like, I just want to change of pace, and I'm gonna live in L.A. And I couldn't believe it. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna stay with Common, and we're gonna work a lot and stuff." And that's what happened. And yeah, as far as the donuts though. He like played the beats in the car, and I was just like, wow, this is just crazy stuff, man. Like, and I really wanted to put it out kind of as it was. I felt, we didn't really talk about what it was. I assumed it was another beat tape for him to shop to different MCs and stuff. And I told him, well, what if we just put this out as is, and then, you can still shop the beats to MCs, because honestly, like, our budgets were not anywhere near. I mean, he got more from one beat with a major label than he would get, from us to do a whole album. And so that was kind of what we worked out. And I remember as he got sick, this was after the record came out, but I remember. Well, I'm sorry, no, it was after it was finished, not after it came out. It was finished in the wintertime, and then we ended up pushing the album back to have it out during his birthday. But I just remember you called me and you said, there's an MC, Ghostface Killah, who wants to do something on one of the tracks. You think that would be good? And I'm like, please do that, yes. So, I mean, I really was like thankful and appreciative that you like trusted me, like to just on some of on the music side as well a little bit. Right. I mean, yeah.
Well, I must respond on that real quick, and won't take but a second. But you were truly family, and for me, and I was able to still breathe and get from day to day because of Stone's Throw and because of your allegiance to Dilla, the brotherhood that he had with you guys. And you were a king in the industry because you always gave an artist their full creative ability. You never tried to tell them what they should do, what would complement their records, because it's one thing to write the check to do a project, but anytime you want to point direction to a creator that's doing these things, you don't have a solid project anyway. You don't have the soul of the artist, but you have something that maybe will not do good. And I always believe in full creativity for any artist.
Definitely. And well, with Dilla, it was easy because everything he showed me was good, so I didn't have to be involved at all. But like, but yeah, I mean, I lost my train of thought. It was just a crazy time, and you know, the donuts thing. It was when we put it out, we got a lot of criticism at first because I'm sorry, this was not when we put it out. It was when we first gave it to the press, and they were like, we were getting bad reviews. You know, we got a bad review from one of the biggest music publications, and they were saying that it didn't have any flow. It went all over the place, and it was like 1 minute of this and then 1 minute of that, and then it's like scary, and then it's like sad, and you know, and it was different when it came out, and people weren't ready for it, but the people we knew were more than ready for it. And then when he passed away, then people listened to it in a different way, I think. And
Shall we hear some music?
let's play some
play some-
donuts. Yeah,
Donuts.
that makes sense.
Thank you.
That song in particular. No, I was just gonna say there's like so much going on. When I heard it, that was probably the first song that he played in the car too. But when I heard it, I couldn't even envision somebody on top of it because it was already finished. It was already full. Like why add a vocal to it, you know? So from that standpoint, I thought maybe he was giving me it to like. We didn't talk about his intention for giving it me. It was just like let's listen to this in the car, basically, you know.
Thank you. Such interesting stories. It's really amazing to hear how this all kind of came together. J-Rock, we'd love to sort of hear from you and talk about maybe some of the technical knowledge of how Dilla created music. Maybe you can touch on that.
I was there a few times to watch him. One thing I always remember, he would kick people out the studio if you ain't have nothing to do with the music. He would definitely be like, man, get off the couch, man. I've seen that a few times. I've watched him, just like Jeff, create something out of thin air. Like I would always go to the house where Common lived and visit Ma Dukes and visit Dilla and just sit on this. They had this stool, and I would just sit there, and he had red vines, and we would just hang out, and we would listen to stuff, and he would have records already in his mind, and he'd be like, I need a snare, and then he'll just grab something and just be like, there's my snare, all right, I need something else. And then he'll grab something else, and there was a few times where I would just watch him, just like, dang, I'm watching J Dilla make a beat right now. What's going on over here?
Yeah, I always have to keep it to yourself.
Always. Oh. But I would geek. I would definitely. I'll say geek up. I would be a nerd with him when I first was hanging out. I would always like say, "Yo, Dilla, man.
Questions.
How come?" I never asked for samples or nothing. I was like, never said, "What you sample for this?" But I would always go, "How come your keyboard beats are always?" It's either, I always get confused because sometimes I would think that's a sample, but it's really you playing. And And then when I would think it was you playing, it was a sample. And he'd be like, that's it.
That was
Like,
always
damn,
it.
man. All right. That's all I would get.
Yeah.
But as far as like production and stuff, I got to the point where he trusted me with knowing music, and he would hit me up sometimes and be like, yo, J-Rock, you got something? I need, I'm supposed to do Sergio Mendes. You got something Sergio Mendes for me? Or I would just go over there hype that I found a record and be like, yo, man, you got to listen to this. And then he'd be like, man, I've been looking for that. And I'm like, okay, all right. But his production technique, like I said, he would just little snare here. And I don't know his mind, his thoughts and how he would chop. But I could definitely watch him and just be there for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and beat would be done. And the only thing I would have to say is I missed him playing the keyboards on the stuff because he didn't have the keyboard, the Voyager. He had a Moog Voyager, and when he was in L.A., he didn't have that. He just had some couple things there just to make beats and just to chop. But he was super hyped when he got that Voyager to L.A. He was like, it's on, J-Rock. Oh, man, I'm about to... But
I got greedy and I told him I want you to do a whole album like just using that and just make it like weird, like no drum
him and
beats
Riggins
behind it
did.
or anything.
him and Riggins actually made a whole project where they both just vibed out and just played keyboards forever. And he was just incredible. We're all here because of the guy, you know what I mean? So he was just an incredible cat. I can't give too much of his production secrets away, but he definitely
They can't do it.
He definitely knew. His chopping was always, even just with that working on it, all the pieces that he heard. And if you know that original song, you know it's like one part's here at 1 minute, one part's at a minute 40 in the song, one part's at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, one part is like he would go through the whole record and find each part that he would want and to work with. And it was just amazing watching him do that. Go ahead, Joe.
You know what was crazy is Dilla used an MPC 3000.
Yep.
Anybody that knows about these machines, the MPC 3000 didn't have a waveform on it. It was numbers.
Yep.
Like right now, you can pull up a sample and look at the waveform and know where you want to cut it. These were numbers. He was cutting this with his ears, not his eyes.
Yeah. 100%. He was a beast, man. I have one track. I gave him this record. I gave him this record when I came over. I was like, "Yo, I just found this record, man. I've been looking for this forever, man. You know this one?" And then I played it for him, and he just was like, "Same here. I've been looking for this record too, J-Rock." I was like, "All right." So I left it with him, and then my boy C- and Mr. Chalk called me like 3 hours later, and I just missed them at the house. And they're like, "Yo, we just watched Dilla. You gave Dilla a record?" And I was like, yeah, all the time, man. Ain't nothing. Man, he just made a beat out of that. I was like, word? He made a beat out of Disco Dub Band? And it's like this New York random ass, it's not even a great song, but it's a good song, but it's...
No, it has parts that are great. But
yeah,
not
but
the whole
once he
song.
touches something,
That's what hip hop is. Like,
it's a whole new thing. Like, it makes you want, oh man, I need that record now.
Absolutely.
Or he just they're like a Mad Lib. You just wanted the original just to hear their thought process.
what they did to it.
So this is one of the records I showed up at the house. I mean, Common used to tell me to be quiet. I was always over there loud. Ah, rah, 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 rah. And be like, man, when J-Rock come over, it's always loud over here, man. Man, J-Rock always loud over here, man. But I would be hype. I'm hanging with the homie, you know, like that was my boy by then that was the homie, like, so.
But we already looked up to him before we met.
Wave,
him, and
yeah,
so, like,
yeah.
Yeah, it was like just weird.
It was just weird, yeah. So this is one of the records I gave him. Disco Dub Band is the name of the record, and man, the way he chopped it and just was incredible. I didn't give him that.
Full disclosure.
Sound like he's doing nothing, but stupid. And then one more. Can I hear Jay Intley? Is there one? And then this record right here, another one I went to his crib. Okay, I went to his crib with this one. And, I mean, it was just an honor just to be able to go over to the guy's house and say, hey, man.
How did you feel when he asked you to be his DJ? I mean,
That was all from...
What's that? I was jealous.
Yeah, but you didn't live in LA.
J-Rock got the job because he lived in California. And I was a little bit too far.
Yeah, definitely. That's the only
Actually,
reason. Yeah, I lived in California.
hold on, people. I'm sorry. Let me... Actually, yeah, play this real quick. Play, like, right around here. Let's jump to... So this is actually this is the first time I met Dilla. Let's play a piece of this.
Is that when you were DJing at the radio?
So this is on Power 106.
Power 106 is commercial station, but they let him do an underground show at night.
That's J-Rock, man. That's the funky president. You was crazy, man. Yo, it's impossible. Let me just put LA up on it real quick of what he's doing. What he's doing, he's taking the original samples that J Dilla has sampled and made songs out of and explained the original. No, he's not. Don't put him on blast. He didn't sample none of y'all record out there. Don't call him up. He didn't sample none. Yeah, I'm lying. I'm sorry. I didn't say that. It was just influenced by that. Yeah, right. There it is. Yo. Yeah. Yeah, he's special, isn't he, Dylan? Yeah, I knew, but no. Yeah, no, for real. Listen to him. What is? Oh my God! And you know what's so funny about it? You know what's so funny about it? Because he knows that he's showing off right now. He's going on record and he'll turn his back to you, so you won't see his facial expressions. Look at him.
Yeah, he should.
Well, you know what? It seems like we've lost Madlib. He lost us.
So that was the first time like Dilla heard me DJ, period, really, like in that kind of atmosphere of just rocking his doubles or his originals. And so that was what made me be his DJ, like, yo, man, that J-Rock dude was kind of nice with it, man. So he told Madlib, he told Wolf, and then I just ended up being his DJ.
I mean, for you to have to DJ on commercial radio is scary enough, and then you got Dilla like watching you.
And the reason we said where'd Madlib go, because Madlib just disappeared and left Dilla by himself to be interviewed. He was like, I'm out, and that was it. Yeah.
So that was during J-Lib, then. That was
right beginning of J-Lib.
2003, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, these are really, really incredible stories. I'd love to also discuss how we can carry on Dilla's legacy. What should the music industry do to invest in the culturally rich communities that contributed to the popular music that propels the success of the music industry? Break through systematic barriers to provide career paths for young artists and creators, for instance, the work that Save the Music does. Maureen, I'd love to hear from you.
Don't be sorry. Yes. Okay. I'll tell you what they should do. Not just the general public, but the industry needs to invest and save the music. They have the Dilla Tech Grant. This tech grant is fire. the youth. No, I'm serious. I know I'm aged, but
Nah, you good.
I got an ear.
You
I got an
right on
ear.
point.
And let me tell you, I go to every single one of the schools that have an opening for me to come to talk to the children, to not children, but young adults, to vibe with them, to listen to them, to encourage them, because Dilla would do the same if he were here. And myself, now I'm the voice of Dilla. Some people don't like it. I'm a warrior, though. And I'm going to make sure that every young person, along with Save the Music Foundation, has an opportunity to not only be a creator in this world, because music is the soul-saving thing for a lot of people in a lot of different industries, but music is a healing balm, and it also can accelerate academia. Please remember that. Save the Music is the key. Now, you hear about key to the city. It's the key to the minds of young people that are talented, that were born creators, that have not had the opportunity because there is no cultural or fine arts in any neighborhood schools in this country. They're all hungering for that creativity, for that outlet. Parents can't afford it. It's so hard to even feed your children. And you cannot rally around enough people that care enough, that are in, should I say, in politics. Politics loses its way when it comes to young people. That must be a priority because they are the future. And if you want civilized, socialized people, you will give them the nourishment they need, and that is through an outlet that they hunger for. They hunger for music. They hunger for the fine arts. They hunger to be the picture of the beautiful things of this world. Save the Music is that catalyst. It is that vessel that will filter through this United States of America, and I'm hoping that's going to be beyond that. It's going to be global soon, because this is what we need. I've seen it. It's in action. It's true, and it works. You must pay attention. You must give. You must support. I cannot say enough about it, but I relish this job. It is to make sure that Dilla's dream comes alive, that more young people can be the full self, to be the whole child, the whole individual. Everybody doesn't become the whole child sometime until adulthood. I know it didn't for me. I had to go back to college again, for early childhood education, and to change my, what I did for my job and everything. But young people, I know the children are my heartstrings, and I know that they are talented, and they're giving, and they're warm, and they're true. They don't have an agenda against anybody. They just have love. And we have to give them a way to show it and to share it. The world needs more of it to share. So we have to be conscious about what we do. We have to be an advocate for young people. We have to make sure that they have the things that are necessary in life. And these things we've had in older generations, it was a common thing that you would play instruments or have classes in fine arts, and different types of talented in music and different things, or vocalists. There are so many avenues. But the Dilla Tech Grant opens up more than just that, than just for the artist that sings or produces. There are so many jobs available for them in different aspects of music and production. And we have to awaken the minds of parents that this is not a bad thing, this is something good. So if your child may not be well-rounded in one thing, they have another avenue that they can be a part of. And I'm telling you, I bet $1 to a dime that they would give it their all to this if they were a part of something like that. So Save the Music is a catalyst for a better world for our young people. Thank you.
Thank you. A shout out to Save the Music, of course. It's the 25th anniversary, and a huge shout out to the 50th anniversary of hip hop. Round of applause for that. It's crazy. there's a lot of great examples about what Save the Music did. For instance, take the Barringer High School in Newark, where out of 1,500 kids, 1,000 of them signed up for the Dilla Tech Grant program. I mean, there's a need for this. I think one thing that we had discussed is that there's a challenge to get more schools involved. It's a new program, you know, it's production, it's not banned, so there's sort of this lack of sense of urgency from the higher ups. So people say, you know, yes, I'd love music education in schools, right? I mean, across the aisle, but then there's not this urgency to sort of do something about it and actually fund it, and then we sort of start from scratch. You know, what would you think, how can we communicate this urgency to build wealth and equity in the communities that really deserve us, that give us the music, to give back to those people that actually create this music? How do we, you know, what else can we do?
I think one of the things that we can do is just take a look at our past. You know, like Ma Duke said, you know, when I was in school, we had music programs. I took music lessons. I took violin lessons. I didn't care about the violin. I just liked music so much I wanted to pick an instrument to see if I could learn how to do. I played the violin, I played the drums, I played the saxophone. But it has to start somewhere. You know, most of the people, you know, in this room didn't know what they wanted to do with their life at 6 years old, at 10 years old. You're trying to figure it out. But if you take all of the music out of the schools, you're taking away a whole bunch of stuff that kids can try to figure out what they want to do, or are they good at it? You know, and I think, you know, one of the first ways that you can fix it is go back to the time when it wasn't a problem and ask yourself, what were we doing then? We had music in the schools.
They got rid of all the music programs for the minorities, though, I would have to say. Like, in the neighborhoods, the people of color, I will just say, their schools have been defunded for the most part. There's no, you know, maybe they'll have band for the football team or something, but I know when I was growing up, I played the piccolo. I didn't play anything else. I played the piccolo flute. So, I got a little teaching with that, and that was because and when we were growing up, they didn't gut all those music programs that were helping the kids, and I agree, at 6 and 10, you don't know what you want to do, but you know what you're influenced by. You know what you kind of like, you hear. Like, I know when I was a little kid, I didn't know I wanted to be a DJ, but I loved music. I just loved, Diana Ross, I just loved the music so much that I would bug my parents, kind of like Dilla's, like, you know, Ma Duke's here, like, I need records. Your grades are bad. You ain't getting no records, son. Be like, oh, come on now. I'm going to get some records still. And I would take my lunch money and go buy records. I wouldn't tell my parents. I just would buy the records. But I just think that we just need to, you know, just let it be vocal about getting these programs back into the school, and letting people know that they're important for not just the people of color communities, but everybody needs some type of music program or something at your school where you can even just touch a piano, or just pick up a drumstick and go tss, 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 just to even be able to experience something like that. You never know, it might just click something in your head and you're like, oh man, I'm kind of good at going tss, 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 you know. So yeah, I just think that we just need to be more vocal, and thankfully for Save the Music, the people over there are actually are being vocal, and they're putting some money behind it, and letting it be known. Like what Compton, didn't they do a school in Compton where they hooked everything up for the kids out there?
Yeah, man. 3 schools and hundreds of students in Compton turned this into a career track. Yes. And that's huge, and that's just one community.
And if y'all know about Compton ain't no joke, so.
But you travel everywhere kind of for this as well.
Yes.
Like you actually meet the students. And
Oh, yes. I love them because they come true and honest. I can read them. You know, moms can read kids. You know, I always tell mine, I got eyes in the back of my head, so I know what you're doing when I'm not turning your way, and you just have that instinct, but they are so hungry to connect with somebody that understands them. And there are so many wonderful, wonderful individuals that are cornered into a group that are hard to deal with children, but they're like boxed in. And it's so many creative, wonderful minded children. They came for this purpose to bless the world with what their gifts are. And they have a ceiling because we're not listening as a whole in this country. Dilla had no ceiling. That's why people thought that he was like not sure what he wanted to do. He knew what he was doing. He spent his entire life. He knew at 2 years old what he was going to do, and I tried my best, sent him to aeronautics high school and everything. He aced all of that, and it still was like in the
Still doing the
music. You know, it's like, I don't care what you make me do, I'm going to do my music.
He did
you
what
know,
he was supposed to do.
Yeah, so he knew that he had to kind of close my mouth a little bit, and I was just worried about him not making it in the world because his dad was a musician. And even though he was a musician for 25 years, he still had to work at Ford Motor every day.
Right.
So, you know, I wanted more for him, but he came here, he knew his purpose. He was here a short time, but he came and fulfilled his duties, and God bless Dilla for changing my life. You know, people say, J Dilla changed my life. I truly understand because he truly changed mine. And I'm still an advocate for youth, but I want them to expound upon their gifts that they come with, and I want their parents to know it's okay because you gifted the world with something. Let them explore and learn and give purpose to what their gifts are. So yes, we need to listen, parents, and we need to know, and even if it turns you from a classical music parent to a hip-hop head. You know? Great.
I mean,
I think we have a little bit of time for Q&A. I'm sorry, how does this work? Do people come up, or do they send, excuse?
Got 2 mics, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. So,
Any questions? Anybody
yes.
got questions?
Oh, we got a lot of people coming up. Cool. Gentleman was here first, so please.
Hi, my name is Kasim Joseph. I'm a student from Colorado State University of Pueblo. This question is going to be for, first of all, I want to let you know a little bit of how I know J Dilla. So Slum Village. I used to pump Slum Village when I was younger, and I used to love that. And then once I met my favorite rapper of all times, #1, Busta Rhymes, I was like, okay, J Dilla's the shit, you know what I mean? The reason why I'm talking about this is because I'm doing a paper. I'm doing a class for MIDI and synthesizing. And my MIDI synthesizing class want me to do a paper on donuts. It so happened to be, I got everybody I need right here to finish my paper, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? First of all, thank you, Mom Dilla, for doing what you do. Thank you for
Mom Dilla, yeah.
instilling that you got to go to school. Even though you want to do your music, you got to go lead that way. My mom is the same exact way. My mom says that, Kasim, I know you want to do your art and music, but you have to stay in school, so I want to thank you so much for that. J-Rock, being a DJ, I follow you. You know what I'm trying to say, bro? The reason why is because the thing that you did with J Dilla was classic. I mean, before Kanye West even thought about sampling, we had J Dilla. You know what I mean? So everything that you've done, I mean, I had to follow your footsteps.
I was just going to say, fun fact, you mentioned Kanye. Kanye would go to Dilla's and ask for drums and ask for like, yo, Dilla, I need some drums, man. And Dilla would be like, all right, man, you ain't gonna do what I do with them. All the time.
There's room for all of it.
This question I wanted to ask is about the album Donuts. While I did my research, I heard that the Mom Dilla literally had to massage his fingers to put his do his beats. Can you please, I don't mean to go in there a little deep, but can you tell me to describe his emotion, how he was about completing that album?
He was headstrong. He worked endlessly. He was used to not sleeping. He would nap, and maybe nap every couple days. So I really had to stay on him to take a nap or to nourish his body. But what was most important was whatever he was working on. So yes, he would have times that his fingers would not want to work, and he had to have a massage. And I just did whatever I needed to do. Just work the back of his neck, his shoulders, whatever it was necessary, even to cradle him during his pain. It was necessary.
Yeah.
That was my child. I was blessed with him, and he was sent here to bless the world, and that's all I cared. So.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll take one more question.
Hi everyone, welcome to Austin. I just want to say it's an honor to kind of for having you here today. My specific question was about the track Reunion, and there's a line that stuck out to me about the track where it says all of my peeps that rep more D than 12 M&Ms. I kind of wanted to know a little bit the context about that track, if y'all have any information for us. Was there any confrontation with crossing with the D12 back in Detroit or Eminem in the early days? Because I can't find anything on it.
So you want the T?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know about that beef, but I maybe I'm wrong here, but when Dilla passed, didn't Eminem send you a photo,
Yes.
Dilla, that Eminem took? or
Yes,
something
Eminem
years
and
ago?
Paul Rosenberg sent me picture of Dilla that I cherish. And it was at a studio, at M. Phillips Studio, actually, when they were younger. All of the guys were around 17, 18. And I cherish that. Paul Rosenberg and Eminem came to my house every day for a couple of years. Matter of fact, more than a couple of years. But at 5:45, they were there waiting for my last child to leave my daycare. But they closed at 6, and Dilla had the house from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And my daycare opened at 6 a.m., and so I was in a tizzy trying to clean up, make sure there was no Moet bottles downstairs, okay, before my parents came in. And
What
so
year
that
was this
the
around,
thing.
do you
This
know?
was the early, after he signed, and everybody was coming to the house to get their albums done during the year, because especially Madhouse during Thanksgiving and Christmas, because the industry, December 15th, it was nothing happening after that.
Yeah.
So you had to have your project in. So my house was full of artists. And so we had to bowl a lot and stay out of the way and do whatever. But it was just a common thing. But Eminem and Paul Rosenberg were there every day, during that time. So, no, there was no beef then. There was a supposed project that was going to happen, but Dilla became sick. And I don't think Eminem knew why Dilla couldn't fulfill that, because he was ill, and very ill. But, he didn't make it common knowledge. But yes, everything was good. They were very respectful and always prompt, so I never had a problem with them.
Thank you. And a question from the South by Southwest Go app, one of the ones that we wanted to choose from Sherry Goodall, I believe. Ma Dukes, this is a little unfortunate. She lost her daughter in November, and she's been asked to create a scholarship or program in her honor. Where and how did you start with creating your son's legacy? And I'm sorry to hear that if you're here. Apologize for that.
Okay. Where and how? Well, you could have answered this. I first began to support my son through the J Dilla Foundation.org, which was established in California, because that's where I had moved to take care of Dilla during his time there. And Jay Barber, who was the president of the foundation for me, he put it together. We spent a lot of time. He was very sympathetic. He knew that I cared for children, and I had daycare. Had daycare for over 30 years. And his mom was a daycare, provider, so we had that in common and spent a lot of time together. Asia was the vice president of my foundation at that time. And of course, she's always been too busy, but she always found time to help and do whatever. And then when I moved back to Detroit, I had to reestablish it in Detroit, to find common ground with people that I could work with. And so now it's still jdillafoundation.org for those of you that can't remember this James DeWitt Yancey Foundation.org, because I changed his the foundation name to that when he went into the Smithsonian National Museum. So that's one reason I changed it. I wanted to honor him. It's his surname, and I wanted to honor his dad as well, because His name was DeWitt Yancey, and that was to honor his dad for giving all of his time and knowledge to my son during his growing years, and it just lifted the Yancey legacy. So yes, I appreciate the works that he did, and that's what I can say about that. Yes, and we're still going strong. We're working directly hand in hand with the Save the Music Foundation, and it's family all the way around. We understand the needs of the communities. We care about those that are not fortunate enough to have their private lessons or whatever and go to the most prominent schools. But we know that we have the greatness within the communities that we serve. And we thank you for your support that I'm sure you'll all be wanting to help to do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we have time for only one more question. I know time really flies. Who's got a really good one?
May I ask a question?
Yes, I would love to hear from a female.
My name is Christine Nguyen. I am a student from Columbia College Chicago. I know there's a couple of us in here, so shout out to Chicago. We'll be graduating in May, so that's exciting. I wanted to touch base on, the conversation of cultivating these spaces for young adults and just students, before going to college, there's not really like programs or, classes that teaches you about financial literacy. And so when you don't have access to, learning about investing and, like the financial side of the music business, a question that I always think about is how are young adults able to navigate, learning about those type of topics if they want to step into the business and entrepreneurship side.
Wolf, I think you.
I know. Well, there are a lot of books, obviously. There's the internet. there's a lot of ways like to learn about it. I'm not sure specifically what the question is like.
Basically, I think maybe to rephrase, maybe you're asking, the music business is shady. Let's just say it like that, right? And basically, you're like, how can I be prepared? Right. Getting out of school to perhaps getting a job or creating your own business. And,
are you trying to be on the artist side or on the
management and booking agency? Yeah,
that's good. We need more of those. Yeah,
it's always for me. My degree actually was in marketing, but I feel like I ran my label like anti-marketing. Everything I learned, I did it the opposite. So, with the management, you really just need to find some artists that you believe in and who believe in you in terms of being organized and having, being a good communicator. And you just take baby steps and it all grows. For me, when I was in college, I got involved in the hip hop radio station, and I met some people who liked the same music that I did, and I was making music at the time, and we basically each put $500 in and made a record, and it flopped, and we learned a lot from that. The record, we didn't know we didn't know that mastering was a thing, and it sounded super muddy. Now it's like one of those rare records on Discogs. It's like $500. But yeah, I'm always just like you were saying about Dilla, he didn't have time for people who were half-assing it. If you're all the way in, you learn the industry as you go along. If you're an artist, I would say, if it's hard to get your name out there, maybe do one song or something. I'm not going to say necessarily for free. For me, I did a lot of my earliest records that I put out as an artist. I was doing it for free, but it wasn't long-term commitments. And as you get power and you get a name, then you're able to negotiate better terms and stuff.
Also, I just wanted to, it's not part of Save the Music, but there's an organization called Women in Music. I've been part of it for over 12 years, and it's a nonprofit. We've been around for almost 40 years. Highly recommended to get involved in those types of, community-based, national and local kind of organizations like Women in Music. But we're running out of time, which is insane, and I'm so sorry. I know you guys had some questions, but I would love to thank everybody on this panel. It's been really incredible and such an honor to be here with you guys. And the J Dilla grant is extremely special, and we have a gift for you, Ma Dukes.
Mama Dilla.
From Save the Music. Thank you so much. Thank
Mama
you.
Dilla.
Mama Dilla. And I guess we'll wrap it up with some beats from Dilla. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I never knew